Welcome to the podcast.
Where it's about Homestuck, and we tell you about it, because we read it.
And it's called Hamsteak.
It's called Hamsteak.
And this is another installment of Hamsteak After Dark, or Hamsteak Nights. Which one's better?
I like Hamsteak After Dark.
Yeah, I think I just said Hamsteak Nights because, like, that's a McElroy-ism.
Candle Nights?
That, and, like, at one point, they decided to call Yahoo's, like, Yahoo Mysteries Nights or something. Or Yahoo Nights Mysteries.
What?
Just because they were so weird. And there's an episode of The Adventure Zone that Travis DM'd, and they called, like, that, like, storyline that they might, like, return to. They're just calling, like, Adventure Zone Nights. Because it's, like, the B-side.
I see. Who normally DMs?
Griffin.
Ah. He's the biggest nerd of them? Or just the most of the
I think they're all nerds. But, like, he just, like... He had a story he wanted to tell, and it's a really good story.
Yeah, everyone keeps saying.
Yeah, so, anyway, speaking of the adventure being on, let's talk about Homestuck.
Let's talk about Homestuck. I guess we already did the Welcome to the Homesteak Damn it! We did that part, right?
Homesteak ham, damn it.
Basically, that's what it... If you actually generalized across every instance of us trying to deliver that intro, that would probably be...
Yeah. Lydia, we didn't combine the show notes.
Fuck! You guys, it's been a really long week.
What the fuck is a Homestuck?
It's a comic in which, so remember how last week, our friend the troll Kanaya was talking to our friend the human Rose because she wanted to tell her that she had read her walkthrough, which was hosted on a server in the furthest rings of Paradox Space. Well, This week, now we are Kanaya. That's us.
Yeah.
And then we go through a convoluted... Ready? I'm going to lay out some structure here. So here's what's about to happen. We're about to do a bunch of convoluted time and narrative hopping to bring us right back around to this conversation that just happened at the end of last week.
Right, so we're basically going through Kanaya and Rose's relationship from Kanaya's perspective.
Yeah!
So she starts off by, basically, she's in the Vale, and this is before she's spoken to any humans. I guess it's just after Karkat, said, okay, our plan is to troll the humans.
Yeah.
And she just wants to clarify, that he's positive that the humans are responsible for their misfortunes.
Right.
And he goes on, a blathering tirade, that means nothing, and she, parallels what Rose said to John last week by saying statements like that are why you're our leader.
Right, and Karkat is just kind of, having none of it.
Yeah.
In the same sense as John was, but, in a more Karkat way.
Yeah, it's it's the parallel between John and Karkat.
Yeah.
Him being, a super nice boy, and him being, a...
a super nice boy. He is a super nice boy. That would be a cool, one of those, sort of hip, Korean fashion-inspired shirts. Something.
Oh, like a knockoff Mario that says super nice boy on it?
Or something. Or just, I was thinking, how people were always wearing those, shirt hats that just said, boy on them.
Oh, yeah. Oh my gosh, I've seen a bunch of, So at my work, there's, I guess there's an ESL center nearby.
Mm-hmm.
So I see a lot of, exchange students who are, mostly East Asian.
Cool.
And they're very fashionable most of the time.
Awesome.
And a lot of that fashion includes, shirts with random English on it that may or may not make sense.
I love it.
Yeah. So I've seen, BAPE, just in big, letters.
Yes!
I've seen, F yourself.
I like that
Like-
a lot.
Yeah. I haven't seen anything as good as that, 82 billion dead cops world is a fuck.
Oh my gosh, that's my fave.
It's the best shirt in the world.
Jesus.
Okay, that's our first show note, is that shirt.
82. I'm writing it down because nothing I don't write down exists. 82 billion. Billion, I'm leaving it. Done.
World is a fuck.
World is a fuck. It is. Let me tell you about my week. I slept 2 to 3 hours most of the nights. I don't even remember which nights. It was one of those weeks where I couldn't tell which day was which.
Mm.
And I didn't buy groceries. I came back from a trip, and I had no food in my house, and I did not have time to buy groceries because I had a 1 2 hour chunk. My choice was do any laundry or buy food, and so I had to say I can get coffee and food from Dunkin' Donuts, but I cannot get underwear. And so to the laundromat with me. And so I have given fast food joints so much of my money, and I had no real food for a whole week. And just pity me. My life is so hard. Oh, it's so sad. I get paid to do science all day. Anyway.
Yeah. So now Kanaya is having her...
Slightly different character.
She's having her first conversation with Rose, who's actually John, when Rose was asleep. And this is, the origin of Kanaya thinking that Rose has, a stupid persona.
Right.
And we see that on her end. It's just kind of super confusing. She's
right.
I thought Rose was, this cool, super badass spur player. Now she just seems like an idiot.
Yeah.
And then right after that, she sees Rose fall for John's bucket on top of a door prank.
Right. She gets the viewport turned on, so she hadn't been able to see that John was impersonating her before. And now, so she watches her for a while, and she sees her, getting a bucket dropped on her, and I think some other dumb stuff.
Yeah, but mostly the bucket, because now we get lots of gags about buckets being super embarrassing.
Which never... Okay, did those land for you? Because they really don't ever land
Really?
for me.
Oh, they did for me. Maybe just because I was new to it.
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. I can remember always, even when I went into this comic, I, knew Lego buckets are the Homestuck joke. And then I, started reading the comic, and I was just this whole, bit about, buckets being really obscene to the trolls, just never lands for me. It just feels really contrived.
That's so weird, because, I'd never heard that buckets were the Homestuck joke.
Mm.
And also, it wasn't obvious to me that buckets were a joke until you said so.
Oh.
So now I'm just oh, haha, yeah, buckets.
Right, yeah, well, because there was that stuff last week, I think, about how...
Yeah, there's a bucket in John's room.
And he has to get rid of it for Vriska.
Yeah.
And I think Terezi also at some point says something about a bucket, And I know she says something about it this week,
Yeah, there are a lot of bucket jokes this week, but they're not old for me yet.
Yeah, get it? Because trolls have to jizz in pails. So she's messaging, she's alright, so I don't find Kanaya very impressive, and I don't find Rose very impressive, and I don't think she's worth trolling because the humans are dumb, I guess. So she messages she messages John to just be give me a reason to be doing this. Show me the humans are smart.
Yeah, and he's this is John before he changed his handle. So he's just oh, what's going on? Who are you? What?
Right, this is long before they ever play the game, and he's just kind of playing along with her.
Yeah, he's oh, who are you? Oh, you're pretending to be a...
Hold up. I just dumped a ton of water on my floor. I'm gonna unplug my headphone. Sorry. Bye. And we're back. Hi.
Hi.
Sorry about that. I literally kicked over a completely full cup of water. I'm so sorry.
At least it was water.
At least it was water. Bucket. You really liked the bucket prank.
I thought it was silly.
I do think it's really funny. I thought it was really cute that, like, John left a little prank for Rose.
Yeah, and that it made Rose look like an idiot to Kanaya.
Right, that made her kind of decide, like, oh, she's a dumbass.
Yeah, and we see her, like, covering the screen and, like, looking behind her just to make sure no one saw.
Owned.
Yeah. And also, I don't even know if it's a thing or just, like, a silly goof, but in all of the scenes in the lab where the trolls are, we see, like, Gamzee just kind of half in the frame, like, in the background blurry.
Yeah.
It's really weird and dumb and funny.
He's just, like, he's kind of there.
He's just hanging out.
He's not important, but he's
we don't
there.
We don't hear a peep from him. He's there.
He's just chilling.
Yeah.
Oh, so then we see how Rose goes back to, or Kanaya goes back to, I get the two characters confused, which is kind of a problem, to when we, the audience, first meets Rose, and she's naming her a flighty broad, which was the gag way back in Act 1.
But that kind of brings up, like, an interesting metaphysical question, which is like the audience that we've been referring to, who are the ones inputting text, is that actually the trolls?
Ooh. I think it's not so much that is just the trolls, like, strictly speaking, but, like, it's that, like, the trolls
are enacting
audience.
The trolls are enacting that will.
Right, as much as anyone else. So, like,
sure,
it's kind of cool. Like, it kind of suggests, like, oh, you, the human reader, is similarly sort of maybe in, like, a slightly alternate, adjacent universe as the trolls.
Yeah, exactly. So she trolls, so she trolls John as a young lad. And basically, there's a bunch of really cute dialogue, because John's just, like, being, like, happy and oblivious. And basically he mentions Christmas, and she's like, I'm guessing that's the human equivalent of 12th Perigee Eve. And she's like, will your adult human custodian forage for leavings as ours do? And he's like, yep, that sure keeps sounding alien of you. Keep up the good work. It's just really cute.
I love John, because he's so, like, he sees through things, and he's very, like, incisive, but he's not bitter. Like, you would call it cynical, except that he's not.
Yeah, he's playing along.
Yeah, he's completely, like, cheery about it.
Yeah, he's like, oh, this is fun.
And then he still says some nice things about Rose. He's like, I don't really have time for this right now, but Rose is a nice person, and you'll see.
Mm-hmm.
And then as we cut away from him, Vriska is hassling him in the past, which is interesting because I don't remember that.
Yeah, so this is one of the times before they played that they were trolled.
Right.
And I didn't actually write down what happens here.
Nothing actually happens. It's just that we see that her balloon is appearing, and then Kanaya, because we see it from Kanaya's perspective looking through her viewport, but then she goes back to look at Rose. And she sees Rose, and it's Christmas, and there's snow everywhere, and Kanaya is like a sun goth, so she's like, oh my god, it's so bright and like twinkly and light, and I'm obsessed with it. And then she has a conversation with her for real, and apparently really likes it.
Kanaya must love, like, Rose's land, too.
Yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah, right? I didn't even think of that, but yeah, I bet she really, really digs it.
So yeah, they have their second conversation where they become friends because they were both told by their future selves to become friends.
Right.
With each other.
Yes.
And Kanaya says, it seems friendship for some humans is a basic aggregation of shallow and insincere hostilities. Human friendship sure is complicated. Which is funny because it's that's basically whatever the course of Act 5, Act 1, you learn about troll friendship.
Mm-hmm.
Or, like, at least in the beginning with Karkat and Tavros and Gamzee.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, like, especially with, like, at the very beginning, when you're, like, piecing together how trolls work, and you're like, oh, like, they're mean to each other, to their friends. And that's how Kanaya is, like, Kanaya is saying, oh, humans are like that, and that's weird. So it's, like, a funny turnaround.
Right. Is it Hussey being like, boy, I sure did paint a weird picture of troll friendship, and that was not deliberate? Or...
Oh, I don't think so. No, I think it was definitely deliberate.
Yeah.
So, I think this is just, like, a funny, like, meta-textual joke.
I guess.
That, like, basically the way that Kanaya is going about being friends with Rose is failing miserably. Because John messed up their first conversation. So Kanaya's just confused about what Rose's intentions are and whether she's, like, actually being stupid on purpose to mess with her.
Right.
And so that's why she thinks Rose is being antagonistic. But Rose is just, like, confused because she wasn't aware of that first conversation.
Right. But so they have that one good conversation, and then she goes to try and contact Rose another 3 times, and it's always like Rose is busy, and she just kind of shuts her down, and she's like, oh my god, how am I going to continue this friendship? And so this goes back like 1,000 pages to a conversation that she had with Dave.
Yeah,
we've seen before.
Yeah, we've seen all these conversations before. And this is the one where Dave is like, where she asked Dave, like, how Rose works.
Uh-huh.
And he gives her the advice to take her as meaning the opposite of what she says.
Right.
And then she goes to Rose and says, Dave gave me this advice, so I assume that I will do the opposite of what he says, but also do the opposite of what you say. And Rose is like, oh, you're learning, like, how we work, us cagey, Durst humans.
Did she actually say Durst humans?
No, that's my editorialization.
Oh. Because, yeah, that's true. Like, that is... The Durst humans are awfully cagey, and...
Or, well, the blonde humans, I guess.
Also the blonde humans.
And also their siblings.
Mm-hmm.
The cagey twins.
I can't not hear that as, like, the letters KG.
KG twins. Nice.
Yeah, it sounds like a K-pop group or something.
Oh my god. I love it.
Anyway. So then Kanaya has that conversation where, I think it's the same conversation where she actually sends the transcript of her conversation with John impersonating Rose, which she still doesn't know was John impersonating Rose, but she has edited it in certain ways to see if Rose
notices.
Yeah, it's like complicated temporal shenanigans, but yeah, basically to see if Rose notices at some point in time, and they kind of talk each other through and around that gambit and are very impressed with each other. I wanted to mention that I've never bothered to actually read that whole transcript until this read through. I always just assumed it was about the same with some things removed, but like Kanaya actually puts a bunch of words in Rose's mouth.
Oh, okay.
And it's very funny. Did you not read it?
No. I assumed that it was... I took her at her word.
Oh, yeah, she...
that it was copy-pasted.
It's actually really funny. She, like, editorializes about how Rose was talking, or how John was talking, I guess. And
yeah.
In lines that she then attributes to Rose, it's cute. Yeah.
So, basically, all this to say that Kanaya and Rose's first 7 conversations are completely, like, out of order and don't go super well. But then finally, Kanaya gets past the point in Rose's timeline where John messed it up, so that they can have their 8th conversation, which is the 8th for both of them, and which both are excited about. But just as Kanaya contacts Rose, she sees that Rose is in the middle of destroying the gate above her house. And she's like, what the hell are you doing?
Yeah, that's more drastic of a of a choice than I guess Kanaya is comfortable with. Like that, it really kind of rattles her to see Rose becoming so distraught. She just saw her like blow up an island. Like,
well, that's in the future at this point.
That's true.
That's their 16th conversation.
Right. Kanaya at this point hasn't seen it yet, but so she's alarmed that she just blew up the gate, and we conveniently cut away.
Yeah.
So, so John, there's a good-natured... So this joke was written in, like, I think 2010 or 2011. So it was at the time a very good-natured joke that John was making a new Bill Cosby-shaped laptop and, like, had a lot of love for it. But now it's kind of a bummer.
Yeah. And Vriska gives him a hard time for it.
Right. Just because she really wants to... So it's the running thread that we're about to see is that Vriska is constantly, like, hassling John to get a move on, but then, like... he only is taking so long to do it because she keeps A, hassling him, and then B, like, having him do all these extraneous things.
Mm-hmm.
So, the first thing that she does is insist that he make a new outfit because she thinks that his, like, looks dumb, and she's like, oh, you know, your timeline shows that you're going to do this already, so you have to do it, which, like, is true, but, I don't know, it's funny how, like, destiny works in that way.
Yeah, it's just like Vriska's being self-fulfilling.
Exactly.
And so he turns out his pockets, and he has like some like candy corn and like a frog, and just some junk. And like he picked up a mushroom and a rock, like he was in an adventure game, and he was just like collecting stuff in the forest.
It really is exactly like he was in an adventure game.
Yeah, and she's like, "Why do you have a rock?" She's like, how can we make some cool clothes with these? And also she mentions that it's surprising that he has a frog this early in the game. And that's another way that their session is weird.
Yeah. Oh, man. I know exactly why she's saying that, too, and it's, like, a super weird thing that's gonna happen later.
Yeah, because, like, amphibians are a big thing in Spurb.
They're a big thing in Spurb, and they're illegal.
Yeah.
In the humans version of the game.
Right.
Oh no, they're illegal in the or not. They're not
both.
Illegal, but they're hated in the trolls version of the game.
Yeah. Yeah, and then there's a funny exchange that I just want to read. It's like, because John's saying like Marquise Spinneret, and she's like, "I told you that's my role playing name, not my real one. So your weak burn means nothing." And then John's like, "No, you did not tell me that you like to play Troll Dungeons and Dragons," because she didn't actually say that was her role-playing name before now.
Right.
And then she's like, "Oh yes, John, I'm really going to know what your stupid Earth game is just because you put troll in front of it. Stupid." Which is, fair point.
Vriska has just enough insight at any given time that, like, you want her to just, like, be an observant, incisive character. And then, no, she's just a little rage machine.
Yeah.
Small rage machine.
She's not very small, I think.
She's 13. She's a kiddo.
I picture her as a tall one, though.
I mean, maybe, but it's more like, I don't know, metaphorically speaking, she is small.
Sure.
But you're right, I see her, which is interesting, because she's not necessarily drawn that way, but, like, it's just the characterization, like, any fan art that you see, like, Terezi's always very small, and Vriska's always very tall and lanky. Yeah,
that makes sense. I think that's, like, when they're drawn, like, in more detailed ways, mm-hmm. I think, like, their body language, I guess, and, like, the way they're framed makes them look different.
Yeah.
Like, Vriska's always kind of, like, looming over the computer, whereas Terezi's just kind of, like, hunched up laughing.
Right. Exactly. I love those kids. I like these troll kids.
Yeah. You also see there's a lot of, like, frames with, like, the more high-res kids in it. And they all have, like, cool poses, and, like, it's actually drawn well, and it's just cool.
Yeah, the art becomes increasingly expressive, I guess, like, as we go further on in the story.
Yeah, and, like, it's always been there, but it's just, like, I guess he's being more liberal with it now.
Right. Because I think a lot more things are a lot more dramatically significant.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, so Vriska's just like bossing John around, and he's like, "Stop being so bossy."
Yeah, John. It's really funny because like she's trying to treat him the same way she treats Tavros, but like John, despite being a super nice dude, also like is just like very politely having none of it.
Yeah.
And we cut away from them again. We go back to Kanaya, and so we finally made our way back to where we ended last week, which is now from Kanaya's perspective, confessing to having read Rose's walkthrough.
Mm-hmm.
And this is we've fast forwarded now. There have been 8 conversations between when Rose blows up her gate and this one, because now this is conversation 16.
Yeah, and in this one is where we see Rose kind of like levitating this island that a turtle temple is on, and like this entire village that's surrounding it. And she's just kind of like ripping it apart to get to the core.
Yeah, it's really beautiful art, actually. It's like, she's sort of like, it seems to be sort of a round object, but then she's like ripping the bricks off.
Yeah, she's ripping like tiles. Yeah, exactly.
And like levitating it all like over the ocean. It's obviously it's like huge.
Yeah, and it's all like still art, but you get a very like very good sense of how it's moving around.
Right.
And this like it happens over several panels because this is a long conversation, but it's happening over like while Rose is doing this.
Right.
So you get to see the whole thing happen.
Yeah, it's
and Kanaya is also like not cool with it.
Yeah, she kind of hates that this is happening, and we find out why. It's because Rose's magic is dark magic, which is sort of like fueled by the gods in the furthest ring, like those Lovecraftian tentacly whispering gods.
Yeah, and Kanaya's like, well, you haven't even been sleeping very much. Like, how are you having all these conversations with those? Or how are you getting all these messages from those gods? And Rose says, like, the timeline where, that like the failed timeline, I slept lots in that timeline, and then I basically have absorbed some of the memories from that Rose, and they resurface from time to time.
Didn't you hypothesize that?
Yeah, that was, like, when I was saying, like, Rose's destructive / analytical tendencies were coming from what Rose was planning on doing in that timeline.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so you kind of saw this coming.
Yeah.
Nice.
But yeah, Rose is like, oh, I trust the old gods or whatever they are.
Right.
And Kanaya is like, I super do not. Because, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Because she's a CrossFit dreamer, so she's not familiar with them at all. And
right.
Because anyone who like comes back to the main timeline from a doomed timeline is like they're still doomed, so like they'll die.
Yeah.
In the main timeline.
Yeah, and also Rose is surprised for a second that Kanaya is a CrossFit dreamer, and then Kanaya's like, why? And Rose is like, oh, I guess I don't actually know, which I think was kind of an interesting thing. Like, I already like kind of see Prospect and Durst like characters as a dichotomy. Do you hear the yelling outside?
Oh, super, super, super faintly, but it sounds like it must be really loud on your end.
No, it's not that loud.
Oh, okay. Why are people yelling?
Because it's Frost Week or whatever.
Oh no, I think I remember you telling me about this, and like, it's very yelly and... Oh no, that was your other school, where it was like very yikes.
Oh yeah, that was awful, yeah.
This is just regular college-y.
Yeah, and I'm just like on the edge of campus.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it's not that bad at all. Anyway, like the Prospect Durst dichotomy is already kind of set up as like the KG people versus the earnest people.
Right.
And from Rose's perspective, Kanaya seems to be a KG person, mostly I think because of the confusion at the beginning of their friendship.
Right.
But Kanaya is actually like one of the earnest people from Prospect. And also I think the point is that there isn't really that dichotomy, and that Rose shouldn't assume. But
I don't know. I think that sorry, finish.
But I just played into that.
Yeah, well, no, I think the dichotomy is real, and I think the whole point is that, yeah, that Rose misread Kanaya because she's very straightforward. Like, she's never trying to obscure really who she is ever. It's more that like she just she's not trying to obscure it. She just is like more focused on her conversational partner, and so she's not divulging tons of like. She just doesn't talk about herself, and like, which like you could sort of construe as cagey, but like I think it's like, I don't know. I think Durst streamers are more likely to be like deliberately presenting kind of a persona in a way that Kanaya, I don't think, really is.
Yeah. Also, like, are we settled on cagey and earnest as the vocabulary for those? Because I think that works.
I think it works. Yeah.
I think cagey came from you and earnest came from me, so that also works well.
Awesome.
Basically, Kanaya is like I got the visions from Skaya, and I felt like just instinctive trust with them, and since the gods are in opposition to that, I just have to distrust them.
Right.
And she's saying like, "Oh, I used to think you were like stupid, but now I think you're dangerous."
Right. I think you are so smart that you're so smart, and you're working with these dark forces, and I really think that you're dangerous, and I don't even know who you're dangerous to yet, and that makes me even more worried.
Yeah.
And as this whole conversation is unfolding, she's ripping away more and more of the pink brick. Rose is ripping away more of the pink brick from the temple, and we start to see this like bright green rock.
I'm calling it. I called it Homestuck Green in this.
It is Homestuck Green.
Yeah.
It's that color. And in the middle of it is this, like, tablet shaped like a Captulog card, but it's, like, bigger than Rose's. And it's got, like, a sun etched into it.
Yeah. And not just, like, a symbol of a sun, like a...
Like a photorealistic.
Like a JPEG of a sun with, like, a huge, like, what's it called?
I don't know. Those things. The thingies.
Sun flare. Flare.
Oh, yeah.
Or, like, like, an arc, like the ones that come off and back on.
Right.
So it's, and basically Rose is like, "Hey, have you ever heard of the green sun?" And Kanaya's like, "No." And Rose is like, "Okay, cool. Because whatever this is, it's the green sun."
Right. Or is this thing somehow associated with the green sun, and the green sun is something else, and it's something that Rose has been investigating for a while?
Right.
Woo, I'm waving my arms around like a little fart. You can't see it.
Yeah, I didn't mean this is the green sun. I mean, like, that sun is...
The sun is green.
wherever that sun is in the real world, that is represented by this card.
Right.
That is the green sun. The real world.
In the fake video game... Fake? Extra-dimensional video game world inside of this fictional universe.
Yeah. Also, Rose basically calls out Kanaya on being like, "Hey, are you like trying to like quote unquote save me from the darkness? Like, I appreciate that, but you don't need to." And then Kanaya's like, "Oh God, am I doing that? Like, I didn't mean to do that. Like, I don't want to get into that pattern again." And Rose is like, "Again?" And that's just kind of left up in the air.
Oh, yeah. So you understand what she's alluding to, right?
Not exactly.
Do you remember how... We sort of only got to see the very end of this arc, but how she used to be allied with Vriska.
Oh, right, she was, Vriska's Moirail.
She was was sort of auspicing for Vriska and Tavros, but really she, like, had romantic feelings for Vriska.
Oh, yes, right, not Moirail, auspice, yeah.
And then Vriska, the dress that she had Kanaya make for her, she ended up using to, like, basically sexually assault Tavros, and she was just, like, so devastated and disappointed. And so now she's like, "Oh no, like, I've tried to do a similar thing where, like, I took an interest in this person, and now I'm seeing them go down a path I don't like, and I'm sort of trying to offer gentle concern." And, like, so that was the other thing, is I was kind of confused about, like, what exactly the parallel is supposed to be, because it was something about pacifying me as I walk down this dark path or whatever, and, like, is pacifying meant to be, like, she lets you keep doing it, but she just tries to make you feel, like, tries to assuage any doubts that you have about it? Like, I don't know.
But yeah, so now we switch back to Vriska and John.
But wait. But also, like, did I not say that, like, isn't it great that, like, lots of female characters get to have really interesting and, like, super rich interactions with each other? Like...
Yeah, you're totally right.
Yeah, like, I don't know, the whole, like, Kanaya, Vriska, Rose, and then, like, Vriska, Terezi, Aradia dynamics, like, make me happy.
Nice.
Anyway.
So we go back to Vriska and John, and Vriska has picked up Jesus from Terezi. And she accidentally uses 9 exclamation marks, and then she's extremely embarrassed about that.
There's a whole silent panel of just her, like, blushing furiously and, like, clamping both hands over her mouth. It's really cute. Like, alone in her room.
It is. And now she presents John with the outfit she designed, based on this junk in his pocket. And he's like, "Oh, like, this is pretty simple. Like, it's not very adventure-y." And she's like, "No, it's perfect." And it's basically her outfit.
Yeah, it's her same, like, jeans, black shirt, and, like, a flannel or something over it.
Yeah, with, like, red sneakers.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's fine. Like, it's, like, normal-looking clothes. It's a little less doofy-looking than John's, like, shorts and sneakers from before.
Yeah. I wouldn't say it's fine. Because, like, just this whole, like, relationship right now is just, like, so insidiously, like, groomy. Like, she's, like, grooming him.
Oh. Yeah, I hadn't really thought of it that way. I guess because it seems like she's kind of inept at doing it.
Oh, she is. She's failing at it.
Yeah.
But, like, she is... I don't think she's even aware of it, but she's just, like, being so manipulative. Mm-hmm. And he's, like... He's basically equipped to handle it. But it's still, like, really uncomfortable to read.
Well, and it's sort of like... I think he's... What?
Less so than Equius and Nepeta, but still, yeah.
It is... It's uncomfortable to read. I guess for me it's more uncomfortable because I'm just frustrated with her because she's, like, working at her own... She's working at cross purposes with John. Like she's trying to help him, but, like, actually just getting in his way, and that frustrates me. But then, you're right, she is also grooming him, and it's frustrating because, like, at the same time as, like, much sort of like Nepeta, like, he does, like, he sees through any one gesture, but at the same time, like, they're still building rapport. Like, he's still talking to her and, like, joking with her and stuff.
Yeah.
And it is, like, it's uncomfortable.
Yeah, it is. And so then he like, hangs up on her, basically.
Yeah.
Because Dave is talking to him. Mm-hmm. And it's Dave. We haven't seen him in a long time. He's been busy.
Has he ever?
He's actually been time traveling a bunch, and he's lived like 3 days worth of time in the past day. Right. And John's like, "Wow, how? I don't get how that works." And then Dave's like, "No shit, your deal is win, not time," which is just really funny.
Have we established yet that John's deal is win?
Yeah, we haven't seen it in action yet.
Okay.
Except, like, that he is... The salamanders think that he's, like, favored by the breeze.
Oh, that game that I didn't play. Right.
Or, I guess, like, maybe he used the wind to, like, put out the fire in their village.
Did that happen?
But that wasn't... Like, the fire was put out by breeze, but it wasn't clear whether he was controlling it or not.
Oh. That must have been the game that I didn't play.
It was part of... It was, like, right after the game.
Okay.
The game...
What?
The game.
Oh my god! So, like, 2 years ago, I lived with a lot of international students, and we still occasionally talk. Like, we have a Facebook group for our house, and just the other day, one of them, from Chile, posted a picture of, I forget how they wrote it, but they wrote it in Spanish, "I want you to lose the game," and, like, tacked it up to a tree, and, like, sent it to me from across the world, and I was like, I haven't thought about the game in literally months. Thank you for this. Mm-hmm. the game.
Yeah.
It's moved past, like, me being, like, scoffishly annoyed at, like, this childish thing, and now I'm just like, oh.
Oh yeah, I was just charmed to hear you mention it. So Dave is basically super he's super aware of the lingo of the game now, of like of all the troll stuff and all the game stuff, and he just drops a bunch of vocab, and like he seems to have osmosed a bunch of mannerisms from like all the trolls and everything.
Right.
Because like he writes like Gigas with a 3 for the E, and he just like is breezing past all this stuff that John doesn't have any idea what he's talking about yet. He tells John not to do the Vriska thing because Vriska is working at cross purposes with him. John does not know who Vriska is at this time. He doesn't know her first name.
Right. But what John has just done is written fine with 8 eyes.
Oh, I didn't even see that.
Yeah, that's why Dave says it.
God.
Like, don't do the Vriska thing.
Oh my gosh.
I know. Isn't that kind of creepy? It's a little creepy.
It's insidious. We also find out that there are, quote, a bunch of Daves running around the timeline.
Right. Which we will see shortly, all in the same panel. The future in 3 days, the future a day from now, according to Dave, is Noir is out of control, Rose is crazy, Jade's crazier, John is the same, and they are, quote-unquote, up to our bulges and miscellaneous bullshit alien physiology in hot, sloppy shenanigans.
Yeah. I've missed Dave's words.
Yeah, he's very... There are a lot of them. He's very verbose.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, he's using time travel because he's making lots of money on the stock exchange on his planet.
Yeah, like an absurd amount of money. He has septillions of boon dollars.
Ooh.
And like 1 septillion boon dollars, I guess, is called a boon bond. And it's just like an absurdly large amount of money.
I love that you bothered to count the zeros and figure out what billion that was, because nowhere is that written.
Yeah, no, yeah. And on the stock exchange floor, he has his cohorts, or consorts, or whatever they're called. Consorts. And they're these, like, little babbling red crocodiles, and they're cute.
Yeah. Have we not seen them before?
No. Or maybe we saw one.
Okay.
But yeah, I love all the consorts.
Yeah, they are really cute. So far we've seen, I guess Jade isn't in the game yet, so we've seen John's salamander people. Rose has turtle people.
Yeah, we only saw one panel of them.
Right.
And they're just kind of like shuffling their feet anxiously because she was destroying their house.
Yeah, aw. Poor guys. And then, Dave has these crocodiles, and, so we're seeing them on the stock exchange floor, and there's 3 different Daves. One of them has, like, Groucho glasses.
Yeah, they're all wearing disguises, like really bad disguises.
It's awesome.
Yeah. But basically, Dave and Terezi are working together to make an absurd amount of money. And Terezi's the maid of time in their session, right?
Nope.
Okay.
No, but good guess.
Because I was like, are they both time travel? But no.
No, and in fact, that is dispelled in a dialogue that we're about to see. Not this one, but shortly after.
Right. But basically we see Dave and Terezi working together, and just kind of being really chummy.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, they're still, like, sending comics back and forth. And, like, Terezi is, like, editing GIFs and, like, 90s paperback book covers to have, like, just to, like, put sunglasses and, like, shirt logos on characters and, like, this is you, this is me. And Dave is very impressed.
It's really cute, and it's like, I don't know, it's kind of charming because you get the sense that Terezi's being a lot more genuine with him than Vriska was with John.
Yeah, like they both genuinely love like making these stupid memes at each other, and like Dave really, like in his understated way, like really appreciates that she puts the time into making him smile.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love them.
Aren't they cute? Yeah.
And then Dave sends her like an edited like Kool-Aid Man comic where the character that he turned into her falls into Kool-Aid Man in a bucket joke. And she's like, "Oh, this is like salacious.
Mm-hmm.
I can't believe you. How dare you send this to me? Thank you, though." Just really, really weird and gross, but funny.
It's cute. It's, you know what I mean? It kind of reminds me of how, like, when you're, like, a tween or whatever, and you're sending each other, like, look at this super vulgar thing I found on the internet, and you're still young enough to just be like, oh my god, look how dirty he is, but old enough to, like, not make a big deal out of it.
Right, except for them, it's, like, this weird disconnect, because, like, stuff that has buckets is completely innocent to one of them, whereas stuff that has, like, a naked woman in it is completely innocent to the other one.
Right. Exactly. So they keep working together, trying to make all this money, so that what's happening is their goal is for Dave to make lots of money and buy frame motifs, which like allow him to use different skills, and they're trying to get him to be able to quote unquote compete with John. And Dave's like, I'm never going to be able to compete with John, and Trezi's like, no, I believe in you, you can do it. Which, how powerful is John that they can compete? And remember, this is now, Dave has lived another 2 days past, I think 3 days past where John is now, because John is entering the final 24 hours, and Dave is at the end of the 3 days that he fit into that, so.
Yeah, so, like, Dave's been to the end and back twice.
Yeah, which, yikes.
Just, like, getting, and dying and absorbing dead Dave memories, I assume, along the way.
No, he has not. That's sort of the thing, is that he's had, he's been constructing stable loops, so, like, he never has to die.
Right. Yeah.
They're very careful about it.
So only the one Dave's died so far.
Yep. Exactly.
But Terezi warns him that, like, if the loops aren't stable, that's when dead Dave start piling up.
Yeah. And she does use the words piling up, which is sort of evocative in an unpleasant way. Yeah.
So then we go to Terezi in the past from her perspective.
Uh-huh.
Basically, she is in the Vale, and she hauls out her trusty smelloscope, which is also a joke in Futurama.
Huh.
I don't know which came first. Probably Futurama, actually.
Yeah.
And she smells at Prospect, and it's very, like, beautiful. It's almost like one of those, like, animated gifs of Starry Night by Van Gogh.
Yeah.
Like, that's what, like, we see a bunch of, actually, these frames we see, like, from her perspective, and everything's just kind of like these glowy, wispy, colorful things.
Yeah,
they pulsate.
Yeah.
Like, with, like, light.
The word I was going to use was throb, but that's, like...
Pulsate isn't great either.
It's not great, but it less immediately makes you think about dicks. So.
Yeah, throbbing bulge. Like, from Trolls. Anyway, she was watching Prospect, and then suddenly it blows up in a bright Homestuck green explosion. And that's because Lord English has destroyed it.
Yeah.
And her nose is, like, assaulted by this green, and its smell is sour apple.
Wait, so do we know that it's Lord English exactly at this point?
She said this, she said this demon that's out, like, to destroy us.
Yeah.
So maybe it's Doc Scratch or something, I don't know.
Right,
I guess
that's the important thing, is we don't know at this point in the narrative.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
But the smell of Homestuck Green is sour apple.
Okay.
I just think we should keep that in mind.
There's actually a little, like, graphic of, they, like, visualize what it's like for her, and she's, like, recoiling from the telescope, and a little cartoon green apple with its own little smiley face is, like, bonking into her face. Yeah.
So she returns to the lab that all the other trolls are in. And she's doing this just as Kanaya is chainsawing Tavros. And we see that from her perspective.
Right, because remember, she has to remove his legs so that they can add the prosthetic legs that Aqueous made for him.
Yeah, we still don't know why that had to happen, but we've seen it happen multiple times now.
Yeah.
And also, at this point, Karkat is still asleep.
Right, Karkat has passed out from seeing that. So it's
right.
So he passes out for about an hour. So it's sometime during that hour.
And at this point, since Prospet's gone, she's like, oh, it's a shame he'll never wake up there. However, we know that that he wakes up on Prospet after the game ends. So maybe he was, like, flung from Prospet as it exploded or something. But we don't know.
Right.
Then she opens a memo. And, of course, her memo is much more useful and populated than Karkat's. Mm-hmm. And her future self pops in to say stuff. And she's like, well, her future self pops in to say, hey, like, listen up. What Pasmi is saying is super important.
Right. She also says 3 minutes from now you're going to have to put this down. So she's already wondering, like, what's going to happen in 3 minutes that's so important?
Yeah. So basically everyone's popping in and talking. Nepeta says that, Nepeta from 3 minutes in the future says Durst is blown up too. Mm-hmm.
Which is alarming because, as she said, so this is a thing that I wanted to take you up on, is that, so you said, all right, we know that Karkat doesn't wake up on Prospet until the end of the game, and that's a little, I don't know, that brings up some complications because, so we know he's also going to wake back up on the Veil in about an hour, and meanwhile, Pfeffery, we know, was asleep at the time, and Nepeta says that, like, oh, Pfeffery was asleep when Durst blew up, and she's a Durst dreamer, and she's not waking up.
Oh.
Yeah.
I didn't really... I guess I breezed through that.
Yeah.
That's scary.
It is scary. I think it's definitely the kind of thing that you only pick up on, like, a rereading, where, like, the main plot is salient to you,
yeah, well,
and
yeah.
you're picking up all the details.
Yeah, they'll come back to it, I'm sure.
Oh, yes, they will.
But basically now Terezi just, like, sits still for 3 minutes and waits for whatever's going to happen. Mm-hmm. And she receives Dave's money. She receives 413 boon bonds. And she just kind of, like, takes off her glasses in disbelief. Or no, first she licks, because she has to lick the screen to smell what it is. Mm-hmm. And she reads, like, 413. And she's like, oh, like, I got 413 boon dollars? That's weird. And then she licks, like, the rest of the number, and it just keeps going.
It's 413 septillion boon dollars.
Yeah. So she kind of just, like, is like, hey, Solix, can you trace this transfer? What's going on here? And he does trace it, and he says it's coming from the universe that they created. And at this point, I guess they hadn't considered that there would be sentient people there who had an internet connection to them. So they look at the human timelines in Trollian for the first time.
Yeah!
And Terezi sees Dave as a baby. And that's the first that they see of the humans.
Yeah, is little baby Dave crash-landed on a meteor on a pony. On
Maplehoof. And she's like, oh no, his Lucis has died. Like, he's an orphan just like me.
Oh.
And then it's like, oh, this strange adult alien is... Oh, it's not eating him, actually. It's just gonna, I guess, raise him? That's weird. It's not killing him right away.
Yeah! Oh my gosh. Is that really what adult trolls do? I guess so.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's why there's no adult trolls on Alternia.
Yeah.
But also that's what kid trolls do. They kill each other. Anyway, and then he gets his glasses, and she's like, oh god, I think I might be dealing with a cool kid.
Yeah, there's a lot of use of, like, cool kid all one word in this reading. Terezi has this construct of, like, what a cool kid is.
And how Dave is one.
Yeah, and it's basically, like, who is, like, the cool kid in the, like, early 2000s after-school special. Is the cool kid.
Yeah, so they watch Dave grow up, basically. Mm-hmm. And Terezi learns some stuff, or she thinks she does, about human culture. And she thinks that Cal is, like, Bro's, like, servant.
Right, she thinks Cal can, like, move on his own and stuff.
Right, because when Bro moves Cal, he's so fast that she can't see him.
Right.
Or she can't sell him, I guess.
Yeah.
She also is very impressed by, like, the martial arts the combat skills that Bro practices on John as a baby. And she's like, oh, these aliens must be very good scrub players.
Yeah, I mean, you see him, like, practicing his, like, speedy moves kind of with Dave as, like, sort of an extra target or, like, distraction or something. And then he's, like, teaching things to Dave, and you see him handing little Dave, like, a little sword and
a little broken sword.
And you see them, like, standing at the mixing table together when Dave is only waist high. Oh, it's so cute.
It's so cute. And it's really funny to see, like, Terezi make all these assumptions about this alien culture based on what she understands about her own culture, in a parallel to what we did when we met the trolls.
That's true.
It's really fun. And so this montage ends at Dave drawing on the computer, and he's drawing this comic, but he's like, oh, this is too much like my Big Brothers, like, it's not ironic enough. I want to make my own irony.
This is now...
This is a year before the game.
Yeah, so the important thing is, this is all happening... So we've now entered a conversation between Terezi and Dave. Terezi pesters Dave about a year before the game starts. And that's what... Yeah. So first of all, she introduces herself, and then she's like, what is your species called? And he calls them the North American hollering phallus baboon. Mm-hmm. Which I can't say with a straight face.
And he gives his own name as Shaggy Too Dope.
Yep. We also incidentally get the third Arsler in the comic today, which we've glossed over the other two because it's not super important to completely itemize them, but I'm annoyed.
And there's another one or two after this.
I'm annoyed. There's a lot of them. Yeah.
There's a lot. It's getting... I mean, it's been ridiculous. Yeah. It's just, like, very dense right now.
Yeah.
But basically they begin their rapport of, like, sending each other comics. Mm-hmm. And they also... The origin of Gigas is Dave's typo.
Yes.
In awe of Terezi's drawing.
Yeah, we get to see Dave's comic pre-Sweet Bro and Hella Jeff, and it's sort of like... I don't know, it's more literally drawn. It's less like... there's no, like, deliberately shitty JPEGs. It's just sort of shitty art in general. And it's cool dude ends up, like, throwing a bunch of, like, naked women around for, like, comedic effect. And it's kind of dumb. And
I wasn't actually able to parse it at all.
You didn't, like, the joke didn't land for you?
I mean, I couldn't, like, follow the through line of the comic.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't understand. They're smoking weed, and then there's boobs.
They're smoking... The one guy's like, I think I smoked too much weed, and Stoner Lou is like, I think I smoked too much weed, and then, like, cool dude is like, that's asshole talk. You know what would fix that? And he says, bitches. And then he throws a bunch of naked... They're wearing bikini bottoms, but no tops. And then he throws a bunch of naked women, and... there's just a couple panels of them being like, awesome, yeah, and then the final panel is this big splash of, like, a Google image search silhouette of a lady with, like, high heels posing on a couch, and then, like, cool dude, like, doing, like, a stupid cool dude pose for the camera.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. We also, when Terezi draws herself, she draws with a mouth, very strange mouth, which is the inspiration for the Sweet Bro and Hella Jeff mouth that will become near and dear to Dave in the future.
Yeah, that, like, terrible sort of, like, Y-shaped half.
Yeah, and we also get, like, we get it as an emoticon with, like, an 8, like 8-Y, which is just so great.
Yeah. So they, like, strike up a rapport immediately.
Yeah. And she also says, like, oh, one day I'm gonna, like, you're gonna cry. Like, I'm gonna see you cry. Or, like, I'm gonna taste you cry. Mm-hmm. And he's like, no, what? No way, I'm a cool dude, will never cry. And then we skip to the stock market, where Dave is crying because he is in a cauldron of onion soup.
Right. Okay, so to disambiguate the timeline, because that was the way that I've read it every time I've read it until this week.
Yeah.
And I just realized that this is not actually...
It's not after the conversation we've had with Dave. It is before he starts making money on the stock market.
Right, which leaves it sort of ambiguous then as to why he's in this pot. Like, I always thought it was like, oh, they figured out that he was screwing them over.
Right.
Like, no, he's just randomly in this pot.
No, what he's doing is ingratiating himself to them, so that they'll let him use the stock market.
Oh, I see.
Because I guess the way to ingratiate himself to them is to make himself into an onion soup.
I guess so.
And when that's complete, they give him secrets, which includes access to an elevator to go underground. And then he's like, well, why should I trust you, Terezi? Like, no offense, but like I have no reason to believe that your help in like getting me to this underground place is going to be helpful. Mm-hmm. And she's like, well, you Mr. Time Travel, like, if your future self trusts me, how about you go back in time to right now and give yourself a thumbs up? And then he looks around, and there he is, like, behind a pillar, like, looking all cool, and gives himself a thumbs up.
And there's a little reaction panel of, like, Dave in his present as per this conversation, and he's just got like, a teeny tiny little, like, a blank expression, and a teeny tiny little red flashing exclamation point in the middle of his forehead.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's just like,
and then he goes underground.
Mm-hmm.
He follows this really big tunnel.
All the while, Terezi is sending him gifts of I don't know, these two boys are dancing, and
yeah,
it's very
silly. It looks like an after-school, like, variety hour show or something.
Yeah, I don't know.
With these little, like, two little boys just, like, dancing around this set. But they're, like, edited to be him and Terezi.
Right.
And he's just, like, he's losing his mind at these. Like, he loves these.
They are really funny. They're doing, like, they're sort of sped up, and they're doing, like, uncannily accurate, like, 80s hip-hop moves. Like, it's very funny.
Yeah, so he's like, getting these as he walks down into the bowels of Lohak.
Mm-hmm.
And he ends up at this enormous room with basically like a moat of lava, and in the middle is this crocodile temple. And there's a clock in the crocodile's, like, there's a crocodile statue is like the front of the temple, and in its chest is like this clock that is moving actually very fast. It's like tick-tock, 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 tick-tock.
Oh.
I mean, that's just like the way the GIF works.
Right.
But, like, it's intentional.
I didn't even... Well, okay, so I use Chrome, so my GIFs always actually run really slow.
I use Chrome as well, and they don't for me.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's a quirk of Chrome, is that for some people, the speed of GIFs are either too slow or too fast. And then for other people, it's not. It has to do with, like, how it utilizes RAM, and that's subjective.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
But yeah,
Great,
so
Chrome.
that was a little
Chrome.
messed up. But then also, like, okay, I know that's a Peter Pan reference, and I don't get exactly what it is. There's something about, like, this crocodile with a clock in its chest, and that, like, Captain
Oh, do you
Hook.
not? Oh, you don't know, like, what that is in Peter Pan?
I just know it's in Peter Pan.
It's actually kind of interesting.
What?
Or at least I think it might have been at one point. Basically, like, in the past, like, before the story of, like, before the, like, action of Peter Pan, when Peter Pan and Captain Hook were fighting,
Yeah.
Peter Pan tricked Captain Hook into, like, I don't know, being in a compromising position somewhere, and basically this crocodile comes out of nowhere, or I guess, like, Peter Pan lured him to this crocodile, and for some reason he was holding a clock, and he was, like, shaking this clock at Peter Pan.
Yeah.
And then the crocodile chomps his hand off, and that's how he becomes Captain Hook.
Oh.
And so this crocodile has a taste for Captain Hook flesh, and it's also got this clock ticking inside it. And so whenever Captain Hook hears a clock, he thinks it's the crocodile coming back for him.
Oh.
And then at some point, the croc actually does come back for him.
Yeah, I can remember seeing the, like, Disney animated crocodile.
Yeah. But basically, it's his, like, fear of death, like this crocodile.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's like the looming presence of mortality is like this ticker, like, counting down. And this, like, crocodile coming to eat you.
Meanwhile, all of the kids, right, are dealing with this looming knowledge of their mortality, and
I didn't even make the connection to Peter Pan with this crocodile temple, but there you go.
Yeah, because I was just trying to figure out, like, why is he saying "oh shit," and I think it was because it's like,
oh yeah, no, the reason he's saying "oh shit" is because he's getting contacted by Karkat.
Right.
He's like getting yelled at by Karkat.
Yeah, the alert from Karkat is not just the usual, like, Karkat symbol. It's got, like, a bunch of angry Karkat faces, like, flashing rapidly.
Yeah.
So it sounds like it's a lot of angry messages all at once.
Yep. And then we immediately switch back to Vriska and John.
Right.
And Vriska tells him that she has too many irons in the fire for him to contact her whenever he feels like it. He can only, like, speak when spoken to, basically.
And he's like, nah.
Yeah, he's like, no, I'm going to talk to you whenever I want. And he's like, man, the number of times that they say irons in the fire is, like, in itself a joke, like a Homestuck joke.
I think about irons in the fire all the time. And all the irons I have in the fire. It's like a very infectious figure of speech.
I've never, like, I've heard it before, but I've never, like, heard it consistently before this. But basically, she's like, hey, before you bring Jade in, or no, like, he's like, before I bring Jade in, you have to watch this video. And then he gets yelled up by Karkat and he's like, oh, I gotta go. And she's annoyed that he first, like, interrupted her and then hung up on her. But then she decides to watch this video because she's like, oh, like, why is he so persuasive? Which is really weird because it's like, it's like, from her perspective, he's the like, manipulative one, even though he's not doing it at all. It's just like, his niceness makes her want to, like, be persuaded by him or something.
Yeah, right. It's not that he's not persuading her. He's just like,
here's a funny video that you can watch.
Yeah, he's like being pretty for it. Well, he's like encouraging her, but he's not like trying to really make a case for it. Besides, like, it's good and I like it, and I think you'd like it. And then he just like asks her about it again. And then what she's experiencing is like someone being straightforwardly friendly to her, which is not something that she's used to.
Right.
So I think that's why, like, she maybe reads it as like this some kind of like very weird, skillful manipulation when it's really just John being completely forthright.
Yeah.
And then it's
and
good.
so we end with her watching this video, which we see in a vintage YouTube player.
Yeah, man, I forgot it used to look like that. It used to look like shit.
That's not even the oldest one, though. Like, that was middle-age YouTube. 2010. Man. Anyway, so it's the Nicolas Cage Con Air clip.
It's the same one that we watched before, yeah. Except
basically, like, instead of the video, it's a super compressed GIF of it playing as a YouTube video.
Right. Because this is all inside of a flash.
Yeah, and the soundtrack is the version of the song that was performed for the comic.
Oh, it's and it's really good in, like, a stupid way.
Yeah, like, it's, like, pitch perfect and, like, has instrumentation, but, like, it's like Michael Cera singing or something.
Yeah, it's this very, like, he's making his voice sound kind of bad, and like,
yeah, it's like a warbly crying voice or something.
And it's so funny because it actually sounds like it's meant to sound bad, but it's really funny because it sounds a lot like the vocals in some bands that I actually genuinely like. Do you know what I mean? Like the first time you listen to Bright Eyes, and you're like, is he doing that on purpose?
Yeah, like the Decemberists saying the word whale with, like, 4 Ys in the middle.
Yes, exactly. The same kind of thing. You hear him singing for the first time, and you're like, is he
okay?
Are you alright? Yeah. Oh, man.
Like, do you need a hug? Or, like, some aspirin? I don't know what you do.
I really like that rendition of the song. Like, it's somehow more affecting, and it's also very goofy. And the point is, Vriska goes all heart eyes for Nick Cage, and we start seeing, like, flashing gifs of, like, in the style that I think used to be, it might still be popular on Tumblr, I just don't follow blogs like that anymore, where it's just, like, a micro animation of, like, someone doing some kind of small emoting. But instead of it being, like, a high-def, like, slow-motion thing, it's just 2-frame flashing of, like, him, like, blinking or something. And, like, Vriska like, all hard eyes, like...
Right, yeah, I see what you mean, yeah. Just, like the image is, like, shaking a tiny bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. And, yeah, like, the winking Nicolas Cage. And, yeah, she just, like, kind of holds her hand up to the screen. And then just kind of fades away. Just like Karkat did when he went Spade Eyes for John.
Yeah.
He just kind of, like, is shown, like, almost, like, suspended in this blackness because the world is nothing but her and Nicolas Cage.
I really like that visual also. Like, that is really authentic to how it feels when you're really suddenly infatuated with someone.
Oh, yeah, it's a super, like... Yeah, that's a good visualization.
I do also like that at one point they show, like, a close-up of Nick Cage's face, and then you see just a blue lipstick print appear on the screen.
Yeah.
It's really cute.
82 billion dead cops. World is a fuck shirt. That's the show. Rather, that's the notes. Or that's the thing.
Are you good?
Questions.
Do we have questions this week?
Yes.
Okay, so if you want
I just put out the call before we recorded.
Yay! Thank you for sending things in the time that it took for us to get this far in the recording, which was longer than usual. If you want to send us a question, you can find us on Tumblr. We are hamsteakpodcast.tumblr.com. And if you want to send us a question on Twitter, we are at hamsteakpodcast. And we have our Ask Box open with Anonymous on, and you can send us mentions or DMs on Twitter also.
Our first question comes from the shows with the fields and the stuff, who asks, if you were trolls, what do you think your signs /horns /lucius would be? I think we've already covered signs and luci.
Have we covered signs?
Well, mine was like a smiley face.
Oh.
And my lucis was like, I think a dog.
Yeah, I don't remember what my sign was, but I do remember giving a lucis, and I don't remember what it was either.
Yeah. But we haven't done horns. And I honestly, like, the symbolism of the horns is a bit too abstract to really think of something creative.
I don't know. For me, it was very immediate, and I just thought about, like, all of the trouble that I've had over the years with my hair. And so I was like, they are large and coiled and slightly uneven.
Oh, we have done this then, because we were like, oh, if you're going to have horns, you got to go all out and have, like, Tavros horns.
Yes.
All right, so yeah, we've covered all 3 of these in the past.
But it was fun to revisit. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the questions. And Pastor asks, if one of the non-human HS characters swapped hives/lives with you, who do you think would do the best in your daily roles /obligations/social circumstances?
Oh.
I love this. Okay, assuming that, like, they get all your knowledge and, like, don't have to relearn everyone's names and stuff like that. Who would just, like, operate the best as Lydia?
I think either Solix or Aradia, probably.
Oh, interesting.
Would do the best, yeah. I thought about it, because at first I was thinking, though, probably Kanaya, but, like, no, I don't think she would really dig, like, what I do. I think she's too intuitive. And then, like, it's too, like, deliberate and abstract for Terezi, and Vriska's just couldn't tolerate it. But Aradia, like, remember, like, when she was alive, she was an archaeologist. And
Oh, yeah.
yeah, and then Solix is very, like, sort of deliberate and, like, I don't know, he literally works with technology and, like,
Yeah.
do computer science, so.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. For me, it's like, I'm kind of thinking of it from the other direction, where it's not about what specifically I do, because I don't really specifically do anything, to be honest. But it's about, like, who would most easily adapt to suddenly being, like, body swapped with anyone.
Oh, there you go. There's an interesting way of thinking about it.
Yeah. So, like, I think maybe for one, Gamzee, because he would just be like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
This is my life now. Karkat would flip out.
Mm-hmm.
Vriska would flip out.
Yes.
Equius would flip out. I think Dave would flip out.
Dave's not a troll.
No, it's non-human. You're right.
Yeah.
Sorry. Well, Dave's Sprite would flip out then.
I think Nepeta would do pretty well.
Yeah, but I don't really want her to be me.
Right.
I guess that's not relevant, though.
Hmm.
Do you think she would do well as me?
No, I think she wants too much to, like, be, like, roaming around. You know? I think she needs to really, really be her own boss.
Yeah. I think maybe Tavros.
Oh.
Because he would be, like, upset about it, but then he'd be like, I guess I have to do this.
Yeah.
And he would just, like, go to work every day and pay my bills.
Yeah. Man, do you ever develop, like, Stockholm syndrome for, like, the life of the person you are suddenly body swapped into?
I mean, I guess you'd have to come to terms with it if like there's no sign of it going away.
Yeah, like, what happens if you body swap and then, like, it's not until years later that someone offers you a way out, and then, like, what if one of you wants to switch back, but the other one is, like, happier and, like, whoa.
This is too high concept for me to think of right now.
How do you, like, you know what I mean? They'd have to have, like, court cases, like, with divorce and, like, oh, man.
Oh, my God. What if just years later you were suddenly body swapped back without, like, being given the option, just, like, overnight again? Like, how do you do that a second time and, like, try to reconnect with everyone from your old life who you'd had to, like, deliberately move beyond?
I don't know. Yeah, that sounds even more traumatic than the original. It reminds me a lot of the end of this one... there's also a Tumblr post about this, but this isn't about that. This is about the end of some, like, young adult fantasy novel that I read where it was, like, this boy gets, like, transported to another world and has a whole life there or whatever. And the end of it is that he actually comes back years later and he's, like, really traumatized by, like, trying to adapt to the real world.
Yeah, that sounds like a subversion of Narnia.
Right. Exactly. He's totally, like, unequipped to function. And I always thought that was a cool concept. So that's probably, like, how that would go down.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, thanks for the question.
That was a really good question.
If you'd like to send a question with spoilers, you can send it privately to Lydia on brickchip.tumblr.com or Twitter/brickchip.
It's true. It's all true. Wait, Alex, you should deliver your contact information first.
Why did you?
What?
I did you, so you do
me. You did me? Okay. So, if you don't want to give spoilers, but you just want to talk to a nice person on the internet, you can find Alex as leafcrunch.tumblr.com or crunchleaf on Twitter.
It's true. It's all true.
I can actually tell you the page numbers for next week. Are you ready?
Sure.
So next week, we're going to read pages 4688 through 4750.
Nice.
There's going to be memos and a spooky thing that I'm excited for you all to hear.
Did you say spooky or spooky?
A spooky thing. I'm going to go ahead and call it spooky and not spoopy.
Sure.
Because I find it I find it authentically spooky.
Okay.
I'm so excited.
So spoopy is like facetiously spooky?
Yeah.
Oh gosh, we got another question as I was saying.
That's so exciting. Oh no, what is it?
Dwellington asks, Snurp?
Thanks.
Bye.